To deal with corrupt issues, attitude to work, attitude to everything, to bring in foreign direct investment. You see, when you go outside and you talk to foreign investors, maybe you talk to presidents or whoever, as soon as you leave the room, they will sit down to have their own meeting. That's how investment works. It's like applying for a bank loan. As soon as you walk out of the door, the credit committee will sit down to have their own meeting. As to, Bosun's application, what do you gentlemen think? What is his balance sheet here? Does he have, how much does he deposit in this bank in the first place? If my deposits in the bank is almost a sub-zero, and Bosun is here to ask for $1 billion, $1 billion, they're going to say, he doesn't even have deposit here to start with very well. What are his business? They're going to start scrutinizing your credit application, loan application, in your absence. So as soon as Mr. President leaves with his entourage, those countries will sit down with their presidents and the private sector to review Nigeria in our absence. So what they think about us, the assessments in our absence is what matters, not what goes on television. So the decision is not made through those handshakes. Decisions are made after those handshakes to say what is the reality, what are the realities on ground in Nigeria. Mr. President of that country, his minister, they've spoken, we've heard them. Now what do you decide? It's like looking for a wife. Now you guys are the bachelors, whatever. The first thing is that you come, you bring palm wine or whatever. I'm not going there. I just okay, I'll take that back. But again, the decision is made to either give you the girl or not after the suitor's family had left. What do you think?
Discussing marriage.
Economic issues.
You know the in-house.
Because budget has to be involved in planning marriage as well.
The bachelors in-house.
I'm talking about. I'm trying to link
the population.
Yeah, I'm talking about the budgeting process now.
Oh, okay.
Because they'll talk about the foreign direct inflow. Okay. What is the budgeting? What's the revenue of the prospective suitor? What is his balance sheet? You remember that pension fund that said, the father-in-law says, do you have a pension account? And the gentleman was looking like, I don't know what it is. When you have a pension account, come back and hear from my daughter. That is how investment works. So we want investment, you have to be suitable as a suitor. So is Nigeria a suitable destination for investment? We have opportunities. Now you find why investors, if you call an MDA, a minister, or the CEO of a DG, and it's not available for a day or for a week, that investor is not going to wait forever. Remember, every dollar that every investor wants to put anywhere in the world has a competition. So don't take yourselves too seriously. Take what you admit too seriously. We tend to take ourselves too seriously in this country rather than take what we are doing so serious. We believe that we are serious, right? But again, are we doing things seriously? That is where the difference is. So that dollar is waiting. If you take 1 week out of 53 weeks in 2024, you are left with 52 weeks. That investor is not going to lose 1 week because that money is not even his own. Maybe it's a pension fund from Chicago, from wherever, and they are waiting for returns on their own investment. So every dollar we are asking for, either from India, from China, from everywhere, is competing with another dollar from another country, from another region in the world.
Listen. Because you said a lot, and the truth is, it now makes sense why photo ops in Saudi, deals announced months after.
That's a reception.
Photo ops with Olaf Scholz, deals announced. So, I want Nigeria to succeed. What are the things we can do that when these investors will talk about Nigeria at the back of President Tinubu, they will talk about us favorably? Because there was a time that they used to talk about us for 8 years ago, 2015 here. Most of the FDAs into Africa flowed to Nigeria. But today...
That's our political capital.
But today, when people are talking about investment, in the oil sector, we call ourselves a giant of Africa and oil, but they are investing more in the oil sector in countries like Egypt that we will not tout.
Angola.
Yeah, and Angola
Senegal,
will not tout
Sierra
with our
Leone.
capacity. Senegal, Sierra Leone.
Yes, DR Congo.
Than us. Look at even Liberia. Look at Rio.
Yes.
The mining giants coming. So how would they talk about us and say, okay, this makes sense? Because if you say 200 million population, the first thing is, as we speak today, what's the purchasing power of that 200 million population?
Professor, it's very simple. Tanzania just announced that their total investment deals done in 2024 was $20 billion.
Deals completed.
Yes, in 2024. Not announced. Was
Completed.
around $20 billion. President Samia Suluhu just sacked the entire board of the country's electricity company a few days of Christmas because she said, I'm tired of these power outages. She sacked the entire board. You can't mess with Madam President in Tanzania. Hold on a second. That's not over yet. If you look at the island of Zanzibar just next door, which was part of it, look at how investment flows is going there. South Africa had one of this worst year in terms of electricity outages in 2023. By the end of third quarter, September last year, South Africa has posted about $22 billion FDI into the country, even though they suffered two major economic downside. First, electricity up to level 8 outages by Eskom, and second, Transnet, which is the logistics company. The shipyards in South Africa and Durban everywhere was failed. The national rail line was in trouble. Despite that, foreign direct investments flew into South Africa between July and September last year up to the tune of about 20-something billion. Well, now, what does that tell you? That despite the fact that we have the same electricity problem in Nigeria, such investment flows was not coming here. Despite the problem of electricity in South Africa, some of the automakers in the world were still increasing their factory portfolio and production in South Africa, because South Africa lost its industrial #1 position in Africa to Egypt just about a year or two ago. And they're very sore about it. They are very unhappy. They want to get that title back as the industrial hub of the continent. Now, so when something is missing here, in which South Africa has a major power outages. I've tried to interview sometimes one of our correspondents in South Africa at my show at 7 p.m. and he says, I don't have electricity. I've had to talk to some investment executive chairman of companies and say, oh, please hold on, I have to put on my generator to do it. In South Africa, yet investors were flowing in because they are doing massively. What did President Ramaphosa say? Look, he liberalized the whole thing. If you're doing 100 megawatts and below, it's free entry, free exit. I don't want to sign any paper. Just go bring it on. He brought in a new minister last year of electricity. Now you have a minister of power, but he brought in another minister that his job is to ensure that there is power 24/7 and give that new minister of electricity a one-page, one-line mandate.
But it's not worked.
But hold on a second, he's attracting investment in. So they are using the opportunity of the problem with Eskom to bring in new alternative sources of energy, and that's why investors are coming in. Look, Eskom is that old utility like NEPA, but we want to do solar. So you come in, right, with your own $2 billion, right? Because you want to provide that. Professor here comes in, doctor comes in here and says, I want to do $2 billion in another form of renewable. But because the environment is opened up, so we need to open up our electricity. Look at the TCN, for example, when we look at the energy. These are TCN, we need to allow people to come in very quickly. The EFDB wanted to help us a few years ago, I think under Buhari's administration. They brought in someone from EFDB to help us head the transmission company of Nigeria. He didn't last. So we need to open up. When we say you are open for business, and I used this illustration yesterday, an Igbo man, when he says he's open for business, he's not just opening the doors of the shop. He is there, sitting down there. He is chasing customers.
Okay, boss. Well, some class.